In this video, we're going to be looking at how we can slice and convert audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another audio track, just a default track, which we had a look at in the last video. And then what I want to do with this is I want to come over to clip view. And then I want to press this button here, this refresh button, go back, and then go to my user library, samples. And then within this folder, I want to find something that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to turn the preview button on. Try this one. Come out of that. So one other thing that I wanted to show you as well is how we can add multiple files on the fly at the same time. So if I just show you this. So if we click onto this view here, we add another 2 audio tracks. Again, so we've got these 2 here. So if we click on this first one, I can then click on this clip view, press that again, go back, go into his user library, preview is on. Let's add this guitar. That gets loaded into there, but if I tap this button now, and then I want to add this, if I've tapped that button, I press it again, it adds it to there. So there's no need to do that process all the time. You can simply add tracks. You can either add them horizontally if you've got a new audio track, or you can add them vertically. So I'm just going to leave that as it is for now, and then we will come back into this one and let's see what we can do. So we've got as drums, we've got as strings. This could do with a bit more volume. So if I go into the device and go into simpler, turn up the volume a bit. 0 dB. And then go back onto the mix page. And we'll stop it like that. So this audio file that we put in previously, which is this one, so let's say we want to manipulate this. We can convert this into a MIDI track. So by pressing this button here, which is the convert button, it'll then give us it'll give us 5 options. We can convert it into a simpler, which is a sampler. We can convert it to a drum pad, which is a simpler within a drum rack. We can take the harmonies from it. So if we've got some chords, it'll then convert them chords as best as it can to MIDI. Same with the melody. If it's got a melody in there, we can convert that to MIDI. And then if we've got like a drum sort of session or a drum loop that we want, but we don't want the actual sounds from the drum, we just want the groove, then we could take that and put that into MIDI, and it'll put a different drum kit on it for us. With this one, I'm just going to go into the simpler, and now that has created a new MIDI track for us where the simpler is in there and the file is in there. So I can now play this back to whatever we want. But we want to take it a step further, and we want to manipulate this in ways that we can. Up here in the top right, we've got mode. So we've got different modes up here. So we've got classic, we've got one shot, which just plays all the way through, and then slicing, it slices it up into different sections where the transients are. Now we can set different modes for this. So on this one it says slice by. So now at the moment we've got a transient. So when we are increasing the sensitivity, what it's doing is it's giving the threshold, and wherever it catches a transient, that's where it's going to create a new sort of starting place for the loop. Beats is a division, so we can select different divisions. So if it's a nice rhythmic, if it's been like programmed to a beat, to a grid. Stuff like that. You can do stuff like that, which is pretty nice. Or you can divide this up into regions. So if you just want in, let's say 16 regions, you can then do that, and then it'll play through the first region for you. Stuff like that. So you can come up with nice sort of textures and sounds by using these. And then last but not least is the manual. So what we'll do is we will press start the loop off, and then we will hit a pad for every time we want a transient or a new pad to be lit. So for example, stuff like that. So you can come up with some really nice stuff. So if you just play the drums, start these drums off. So you can create new drum patterns and new drum loops. So if we just look at that now really quickly, we will go on to, I'll tell you what, we'll create a new track, audio track, really quickly, default track. On this new track, we're going to go to the clip view, onto this button here, go back onto the user library, add in the drums, come off of that menu, and then what we've got here is the actual drums. So we've loaded in our drum loop into this. So what I want to do is convert this to a simpler. We could use the drums to MIDI if we wanted a different sort of sound, but I want to keep the sounds as it is, and I'm going to convert this to a simpler. So this now is being converted to a simpler. It's already been warped for us. I will get into that in another video. So we've got our loop into a simpler. So what we're going to do is just going to turn this up slicing wise into beat divisions. So I might do it on 1/8. So you'll also notice that when I play two sounds at once, only one's playing. So all we do is go on this playback button and go on poly. So this means two notes can be played at once. Two of them can be played at once. We've sliced it up into 1/8 divisions, and you'll notice there's a bit of a click at the end. So if we go into the simpler, we'll go into the envelope, and then we'll just fade it out just a bit more until we can stop hearing the click. And now we're all right with that. Go back to main. And then we can go into the layout. And then we can start with the sequencer, which we'll look at in another video. We can start to create his own beat from this loop. And then that way, what we're doing is we're getting sounds from the outside world, like a real drum kit, let's say. We're getting all that texture, and we're putting that into our own unique drum loop now. So from what it was to what it is now is completely different. We could then add effects to this, which make it sound more coherent. So if I just did that as an example, if I, with this, because this track is selected, if I press plus and then go into device, I can then add an audio effect. I will just put erosion on there, just the normal box standard. I will take this down to wide noise. I'll go quite high in the frequency, the width quite high, and then I'll just turn this up to what I feel as though is right. And that's adding a bit of grit. We can also add another device, and then we can go all the way across. If we add a redux in there, just a normal redux, and then we could lower the bit depth, let's say to 12 or 10, and then the jitter, add that a bit, and then reduce the sample rate to suit, and then the shape, and then we'll hear some more sort of vinyl-y sort of sound coming through. And then on top of that, if we wanted to go a step further, we could add a compressor. Let's have a glue compressor on this one. Just a normal glue compressor. I'm going to take the threshold all the way down. Here to what it's doing compression wise. I quite like that pumpy. And then just take this back to suit. Mute it. And then that way it just sort of glues everything together and makes everything sound completely brand new and like it's been an original recording. If the redux is a bit too much for you, which it kind of is, getting in the way now, turn the bit rate up, sample rate up a bit, and then that's it really. You've got a nice sort of loop there, and then over that you could play something over that. So turn it down a bit now. And that is how we convert audio. There's quite a lot going on in there, but that's how we convert audio from using our transferred files onto Push. We've also looked at adding it to a MIDI track, converting it, slicing it up in a simpler. We've also looked at adding effects, using them to sort of make a coherent sound out of us loops that we've made. And we've had a look at mainly at the step sequencer. Step sequencer is in another video, so go check that out. Going more in depth about what we can do with it. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.